Hello everyone and Merry Christmas to all of you who's watching this. Since it is the holiday season, I thought about doing something special here on my channel. And in this video I am building a Red Dead Redemption 2 inspired town in Cities Skylines. You might be familiar with both games, or maybe you just know about the one and not the other. So I'm gonna let you get caught up. So in vanilla, Cities Skylines is simply just a city builder. Sort of think like SimCity, but with more like creative freedom. You can rather easily create assets in this game and share it on the Steam Workshop so that other players can place your buildings in their city. Since the game came out in 2015, more and more mods and assets have been published, and every year they increase in quality. The textures and lighting you can achieve in this game at the moment is so high that most people can actually struggle to see the difference between a picture taken in this game and in real life. Asset creators tend to take inspiration from places they have visited or from their favorite video games. So then there was no doubt that we were soon seeing Red Dead Redemption 2 inspired content on the workshop. And when I saw these kinds of buildings appearing on the workshop, I knew I had to use them one way or another. So I decided to create a short series of a Red Dead inspired town here on this channel as a sort of a Christmas special. I did say series because this isn't the only episode, there will be 2 more episodes coming out. This one is out on Christmas Eve, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. The next one is scheduled to be out at December 27th, and the last one is scheduled to be up at New Year's Eve. So it's like an extended Christmas special that takes place during that week between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Hopefully it's a nice way to end the year here on my channel. So in this episode there will be only time-lapse footage where you see the entire building process sped up by 500%. And in the next episode, that will be out in a few days, we will have live gameplay where I show you, what I built and talk a bit about the building process and everything. I feel like when it comes to time-lapses you don't really get that feeling of fully knowing just what is going on and where everything is, because it does go pretty fast. In my other series I usually speed up the timelapse by 300%, but since there was so much footage in this project and I only plan to have 1 episode, then I need to speed it up a tiny bit more. So it's a little bit faster than my other series, if you are familiar with that one. But honestly it's not too bad. Because if I didn't speed it up more than I used to, then we'd be looking at almost like 1.5 hour of time lapse, which is a bit too much. So that's why I think having an episode where I show you what I've done in some live gameplay, so that you can easily see what I have done and where everything is, you get more of an understanding of what I've done. And maybe I can answer some questions as well in that one. If anyone are wondering about something, then you could of course ask them in the comment section down below of this video. And then the 3rd episode and the last one is coming out on the last day of the year, and actually it's the last day of the decade as well. Can you believe it? And that episode will be only cinematics. So I haven't made that one yet, but I promise you it will be great. I'm gonna spend so much time on that one, and I want to create something absolutely fantastic. Sort of like a modern masterpiece almost. You thought Kubrick and Coppola were great directors? Well, boy, just you wait. There will be something great coming that day. And now that I have dug my own grave, created some hype for that episode, then I can finally start talking about what we're doing on screen. So every asset that I'm placing down, every pathway, every building, every fence, everything, I have created a what's it called? A collection on the Steam Workshop with every single mod and asset that I've used in this one. It's not too many, because it's as I said, I'm only creating a small town and not recreating the entire map in Red Dead Redemption. I'm also not recreating anything. This isn't a copy of one town or several locations. This is purely taken inspiration from that area. So if you are interested in seeing what kind of assets I used and what kind of mods and everything, then you can of course go down in the comment section, in the description of this video, fool you there, and you can click that link that takes you directly to the Steam Workshop, and then you can just click on a simple button and then you'll download every single mod and modern asset that I used in this one. Now, as I said, I'm not trying to recreate anything, but it is inspired, and you probably know what area or what town in Red Dead Redemption 2 I am taking inspiration from. It is Valentine, the first town that you sort of get to in chapter 2, I believe. That's when the gang has been they've been stuck up in Coulter, I think, like a small town called, and they finally made their way back down from the mountain and into Valentine, which I'm taking a lot of inspiration from. I was thinking about maybe going for Armadillo, which is of course another great small town. I enjoy Armadillo in Red Dead Redemption 1 a lot more. Of course it was a lot more to do in that one, in Armadillo. But I decided to go ahead with Valentine instead, just because when it comes to the foliage that is in an area like Valentine, there's a lot more to choose from at the workshop. A lot better assets, like of trees and bushes that are more common to find in areas where they share like the same climate that Valentine has. So basically the sole reason why I chose to take inspiration from Valentine instead of any other city or town in the map of Red Dead Redemption 2 was just because of the what choices I had when it came to what was on the Steam Workshop. Now, of course, this little project wouldn't be possible without all of the asset creators that have created one or several assets that have been used in this series right here. I think there is, maybe it's almost or it's over 100,000 assets that have been uploaded to the workshop, which is quite insane when you think about it, because it has been out for a few years now. It came out in 2015, I believe, and people have been creating a lot of great assets, and just to think about the difference between mods and assets that was published in like 2016 and the same mods or assets been published again in like right now in 2019. Just the difference, and just like the quality as well. They I don't know if it's now easier because there are different programs that they could use to create textures or whatever to use on their buildings. I don't know. I'm not really I don't know that much about creating assets, but or maybe just because they've gotten better, and maybe also something to do with more people have been supporting the asset creators on Patreon, for example, and that means that they have more time to create better assets. Maybe that is, but I don't know the sole reason. But I'm not complaining really. I can't remember the last time I played this game without any mods or assets, because once you started using those core mods that everyone always uses, you sort of forget how the vanilla game works, and you sort of can't really play without those mods. I remember a live stream done by, is it Paradox, who made this game? Yeah, I think they had a live stream on Twitch before they published the Campus DLC, you know, to create some hype around the new DLC, and they were struggling because they were so used to use the Move It mod, which is a mod that allows you to move objects after you place them down. So they were so used to playing the game that they made, but they were so used to playing it using mods that, you know, the fan base or the normal players have made. So they were struggling to play their own game, which is really just, it's insane actually. And that also may be justifying asking the question if these mods should probably be implemented into the game. I think some mods have been years ago, but yeah, when even the creators of the game are struggling to play their vanilla game because they're so used to mods, and then it really, yeah, it something's iffy, something's a bit wrong there. Because I think it was Skyrim or maybe it was Fallout where you could, where the most popular mods. I think Bethesda like bought them, and then you could buy the mods if you wanted to use them in your game, which is kind of didn't work out because, well, you know, your favorite mods, they are free, but you know, Bethesda wanted to, you know, give something back, I guess, or maybe earn more money than they used to. Maybe it's a mix of both. But you know, they sort of made their the most popular mods. Made sure that they cost money, and maybe that is also the thing to do in this game, because a lot of content creators or asset and mod creators, they're doing this for free. I think most of them are. They probably make a little bit from, you know, the biggest one at least, from, you know, Patreons or something, but it's mostly for free. And so these mod creators have basically created their own DLCs or their own, you know, own content to be implemented into this game. They've done that for free, so it's almost like free labor, almost like slave operations. So that was a little rant about my thoughts about you know, the modding community in this game and how they sort of get a bad deal when it comes to time and effort they put into this game, and the sort of value they get from it, because, as I said, it's totally for free. But yeah, I shouldn't rant for too long. I can probably talk about what we are doing on screen right now. You probably recognize the cemetery that I am building or have just built. That one is, of course, almost a identical copy from Valentine. Not completely carbon copy, but the location of it, of the church and the graveyard, is very much, you know, the same as the location from the church in Valentine. And you can see, you know, the inspiration from that, having that like sort of that main street and have you know, shops and stuff located right on that main street and really nothing else. That as well came from you know, Valentine. And I probably would have expanded it a bit more, but then again, you know, that there's not too many assets that are that could work in a project like this, because yeah, they sort of have to fit, and there's not that many buildings that completely fit. So that's why I just went with having shops on that one main street, and then having it was sort of like small barns and stuff on a parallel street behind it. Some barns with very small pastures right next to it, I wouldn't sort of imagine that there would be livestock on this one all the time, but sort of like how it is in Valentine. I was about to say in real life, but in the game they have this auction area where, you know, I think they auction sheep or something, and sometimes there might be sheep there in that area, sometimes it's not. It depends on when the auction is, and I would imagine something similar in this case, where this would be the area that livestock would be temporarily placed before they were auctioned off or something like that. I'm not a historian, so everything that I make is completely, you know, inspired from the game, and yeah, it could be nothing like how it is in real life or how it was in real life, but yeah, I'll try it as close as possible. And now I'm trying to create a sort of a bridge using logs. However, the logs that I try to use, they you can't raise them. They are, I think, they conform to the ground, like almost like rocks in this game, how they work. So I needed to do something else. Tried a few different techniques, but eventually I went with some props that are like almost wooden construction pieces. You can probably see them very soon, or maybe even now. So I created a bridge with those assets. Of course, it doesn't work in the game; it's just props. However, nothing actually works in this game. There are no cars here because, you know, nothing is connected to the outer world. So it's basically just meant to be sort of like these model villages that people create, where they, you know, they in their basement or something create sort of this village, like tiny version of it. I come to think about Reverend Lovejoy from The Simpsons. He has like one of those village, like miniature village in his basement. I remember. Like, yeah, I hope you get what I mean. So I know it's not the best reference, Reverend Lovejoy, but it's the one that comes to mind. So yeah, nothing in this small town works. All the people that are here, they are props as well. They're hand placed. So there's no activity, nothing. It's basically just a picture, but you can move around in this picture, and yeah, that is probably the best way to describe it. That it's a picture, and you can't interact with it, but you can look at it from different perspectives. Now I decided to go ahead and make this project for several reasons. One reason I mentioned earlier in this video. The other one is because I wanted to play more Red Dead Redemption, and I wanted to play it on PC because it just came out, I think in November or October. But sadly I don't have the PC that's I don't have a computer that's good enough yet, because I'm thinking of buying one, a proper computer, at the start of the next year. Because right now I have this is a laptop that I create these things on. 8 gigabytes of RAM. RAM is, I think, the most important thing when it comes to Cities Skylines, and you know, the number of mods and assets you can use. It's very important, at least, and I know most people who, you know, have a lot of mods and assets, they tend to have 32 or even 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is quite a lot. I'm only thinking about maybe going for 16. Of course, you can, when you make your own computer, you could decide if you feel like 16 isn't enough. You can of course just buy more, and then you can upgrade to maybe 32. So I might do that. I'm definitely starting off at 16 and you know, take it from there, because 16 maybe it doesn't sound that much, but it's twice more than I have now. So yeah, hopefully that should be enough to play Red Dead, and that should also be enough to maybe do something else in Cities Skylines, create more, you know, work a bit more on bigger projects with more mods and assets. Maybe. Currently I'm really enjoying Boulder Cove, which is a series I have going on right now. There will be more Boulder Cove, of course. I have been on a little break. There's been a lot to do at school, so that's the reason behind that. And that series is not very heavy when it comes to the amounts of mods and assets. I think in total there's 100, which is a small amount. It's only like the core mods and assets, the most important ones. So I'm currently really enjoying that one, and I'm not really thinking about the new series, but you know, you never know. So we'll take it one day at a time. Now, what I'm doing here, now this is quite interesting. I am 100% sure this has never been done before, in this game at least. But this is a place where they hang people. Yeah, of course inspired by Valentine. I'm not a psychopath. So you see these actually places all over, like everywhere, in every town in Red Dead Redemption 2. In Valentine as well. I think it's right behind the hotel, where you could, you know, rent a room and get a bath, for example. So right behind there, there's like similar. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if it has a name, but it's sort of like a stage where they hang criminals. And you can see me pretty soon add pedestrians or add people, so it actually looks like someone just been hung, which is you know, quite morbid, but as I said, you know, it's inspired by the game, and in the game you have these things happening, you know. So and since I was creating an a town inspired by Valentine and by towns in Red Dead Redemption 2, these things, of course, you must have them. They were very normal or very common in that era, you know, the late 1800s, I think, the start of the 20th century. Yeah. Sadly, there isn't any like hanging news assets, if that's what it's called. So I just improvised, and you can see him actually now. I'm hanging him. I don't know what he's done, but he's done something. And of course, you know, a good old-fashioned hanging. It draws a crowd. So I also needed to have some people coming in and watch this thing. I didn't feel that well when I was creating this. It felt very weird. I needed to like look behind my back just in case someone was watching. So yeah, here you can see, you know, of course the sheriff was as well standing on top of that scene. That scene, is that like that plateau? You know, making sure that the hanging takes place in a humane way. But that was that part for now. Now I'm going and working on the train station. Here as well, the location is very much. I try to make it the same as Valentine, or somewhat the same. You can also see I have these pens right next to the train tracks. Again, just like in Valentine, yeah. I think they have, yeah, they do have those in Valentine, with livestock inside. So you know, when a train comes, like a freight train, they can easily bring those animals with them if they needed to be, you know, shipped out somewhere. Maybe they bought them on the auction, and they live pretty far away. Those farmers who bought them, so they wanted to, you know, ship them using the train. That was at least what I thought when I made it. Also creating a small I want to say like shipping area where like a bunch of boxes, bunch of probably goods that the stores are maybe waiting for or have ordered, and it comes in by train. You know, there are these tiny little details, you know, who that sort of gives you the feeling that this is in fact a sort of real place, and it looks like it looks more alive when you add these kind of tiny little details, and yeah, it looks a bit more realistic, or it feels more realistic. And now I'm working on adding a bit of people and carriages and horses. There aren't that many to choose from, but there are a few different kinds of horses, for example. So yeah, you will see that, you know, the horses, they are very much the same, because I wanted to place down a good amount of them, but there weren't that many to choose from. So you get sort of a repetition, but you know, that's okay. I think you gotta live with that. And also in this area where the butcher is, I think, right next to the hotel, I went with a sort of the same infrastructure almost, although I expanded it a bit more, so it's kind of like a marketplace, not just a butcher, but you know, more salesmen have put up you know, tiny shops here for the people of should I call it Valentine? I don't know. It doesn't have a name actually. It doesn't need a name really. We can call it Valentine now for now at least. New Valentine maybe. Yeah, so you can see me going through the assets that I had on me at that time, and trying really to choose which one could fit, because it's really hard to organize your props and assets, or your props in general. So I sort of went through all my props, and like one prop that I found, I thought, yeah, I should really have that in my game, and then I added that, and then I sort of went through and looked for more of that kind, but then I found another kind of assets or another kind of prop that I needed, so I needed to, you know, work on that thing. So you don't see it really well here. You don't see it really well here, but there was a lot of going back and forth when creating this, because suddenly I found something that fits in that area. Suddenly I found something that fit in another area. So yeah, I did, you know, try to keep away from that, but you know, it's kind of hard because there is actually no way, I think, of organizing your props in a proper manner. But yeah, it's definitely hard when you have the amount of props that I have now. I don't have that many. There are of course other content creators that have a lot more, but I'm not really that used to it, so it's a sort of a learning process. I also worked a bit with the prop painter mod for the first time, where you could just change the color of all different kind of props in this game, and I changed the color of these like wooden planks almost to a bit more darker, so it kind of looks like almost like a pathway, a built-up pathway between the different kinds of buildings, because I would imagine this main street, just like in the game, is very muddy, and you know, definitely when it's raining. So when you're walking from one building to another, or walking through this town, you sort of wanted to, you know, walk in a place where it's not that, you know, filled with mud. So that's why, you know, we have these pathways using planks, just like how it is in Valentine actually. So yeah, once again taking inspiration from that town. And also the main street felt a little bit dead, so I just added a bunch of these horses and carriages, and you'll also see me later add more people here as well. So it definitely looks like there are people going here, or people living and going about. Of course they're not actually going, but if you just take a picture, it looks like they are going, of course. Maybe they are heading home from the saloon, or maybe they're going home from work. Maybe they have to rush to get to see the hanging that happens on the other side of town. Maybe, who knows. We're actually nearing the end of the time lapse and this episode, finishing up with decals, and also later finishing up with some foliage with bushes and plants and, you know, trees and grass and everything. I went kind of crazy, a bit too crazy in the beginning with these props, these decals I mean, because when you place two decals on top of each other, you get sort of like glitchy looking feeling. So they sort of, when you look at them, one pops up ahead of the other, and suddenly the other one pops up ahead of that one again. So it sort of, yeah, it doesn't look too good. So I had to go over this and remove some decals because it kept on glitching out. And now I'm working on the foliage, which will be the last thing in this episode. I went sort of crazy with the foliage, not too crazy. I sort of filled in and spent a lot of time on areas that I knew would be very visible from all angles. Like there was no point of adding, you know, patches of grass or something far away, like around here, for example, or, you know, where there aren't that. You know, yeah, as I said, you know, where we won't spend that much time maybe, but very close to, I would like to say downtown, but, you know, towards the main city. I will of course focus a lot more on you know, bushes and patches of grass and everything. The rest of the area I just filled in with trees, because that's just a great way to, you know, sort of finish up an area. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to showing you the final result that will come in the next episode and the episode after that one. So if you want to see how this looks like in some live gameplay and some cinematic footage of this area, then you of course have to, you know, subscribe, and then you get notified the next time I upload. Or you have to, you know, of course, hit that bell icon if you like to do that. But maybe you are like me, like you're on YouTube all the time, every single day, so you don't really need to have that bell icon on any of your subscribed channels. I really hope you enjoyed this one. And of course, if you have any questions or just any kind of feedback, then just leave them in the comment section down below. If you comment before the 27th, or yeah, rather quickly after I release this video, then I'll get to that one in the when I record the second episode, the live gameplay. Then I can answer your question there if you're wondering about something. But you don't need to have a question to comment. You can comment everything really. Any kind of feedback. That will be, of course, much appreciated. If you enjoy what I'm doing, then please consider liking this video. It helps me out more than you believe, actually. And if you want to see more Cities Skylines videos, then you can of course head over to my channel. I talked a bit about it, but I have a series going on called Boulder Cove, heavily inspired by Marble Mountain by 2020, if you know about that one, which you probably do know about. Yeah, it's a fantastic series by a fantastic creator, and Boulder Cove is inspired by Marble Mountain in the way that trying to create a realistic and very beautiful looking city with few mods and assets as possible. Again, I think I already mentioned it, I only have maybe 100 mods and assets combined in that one. So if you're interested, then you can head over to my channel, you can click on a playlist there, and you can see every single episode. I think there's 6 already up, maybe 7 by now, I don't know. But there are of course hours of footage there, and of course there will be more to come in the future. So yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more, then subscribe. The next episode of this one will be out in a few days, and the last episode will be out on New Year's Eve, hopefully, as I said earlier. Once again, just trying to be sure, live gameplay next time, cinematic footage in the 3rd episode on New Year's. So yeah, hopefully you'll hopefully I'll see you there. Now this video is finally over. I'll leave you to it. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.